And I recognize the member for Timiskaming Cochrane.
My question is to the Deputy Premier. For the last 2 weeks, the Premier has ignored the growing concern about the clear conflict of interest he showed in personally appointing a family friend as OPP Commissioner. Now even Ron Taverner himself has admitted that he can't assume command under the cloud of suspicion created by the Premier.
Government side, come to order.
Will the Deputy Premier continue to defend the indefensible, or will she admit that we need an investigation by the Ombudsman and by members of this Assembly before this appointment can proceed?
The Deputy Premier.
The Minister of Community Safety and Correctional Services.
All right.
The Minister of Community Safety and Correctional Services.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. You know, our government, the Independent Hiring Committee, our public service, has 100% support and trust and faith in Superintendent Taverner. Out of respect for the people who serve our province on the front line, our police officers, Ron Taverner asked me if he could step aside while the investigation was taking place. I accepted that recommendation. I think it was a very wise and frankly respectful thing for him to do because he understands the process and he wants the process to have its
Opposition side, come to order.
We are doing that. We understand that the independent officer of the Legislative
Member
Assembly,
for Essex, come to order.
The Integrity Commissioner will do his investigation and his work. At that point, when the investigation is complete, I will be right at the front of the line to congratulate Ron Taverner and welcome him as the Commissioner of the OPP.
Supplementary.
Once again to the Acting Premier. The Deputy Commissioner of the OPP is just one of the many people who has raised serious concerns. In a letter to the Ombudsman, Deputy Commissioner Brad Blair said,
Government side, come to order.
and I quote, "The independence and confidence of the command of the OPP was at risk without a review from the Ombudsman." Does the Deputy Premier agree with the Deputy and now former Acting Commissioner that we need this independent public review?
Minister of Community Safety and Correctional Services.
Well, to be clear, the independent review is happening currently through the Integrity Commissioner. But what I am hearing since Friday is people from across Ontario talking about what are we going to do to ensure that we keep the heat on and the power on in the province of Ontario. That is ultimately why we are here this week. That is what we should be debating, and that is what my focus is and our government's focus is.
Final supplementary.
I think they've been watching the PC News.
Once again to the Deputy Premier. Deputy Commissioner Blair doesn't stand alone. Former RCMP Commissioner Bob Paulson has echoed calls for an independent public review, saying, quotation, "that sense of integrity of the institution has to be preserved," end quote. The former OPP Commissioner Chris Lewis was more blunt. Quote, "it's simply not right and not the best for the organization," end of quote. The Premier responded by calling the integrity of this decorated OPP veteran into question. The Deputy Premier must know. She must know this isn't right. Will she stand with these decorated officers and back their calls for independent review? Or will she stand with the Premier who attacks them?
Members, please take your seats. Minister.
You know, Speaker, in the 10+ years that I've served in this Parliament, I have never, ever heard someone suggest that the independent officer of the Legislative Assembly, the Integrity Commissioner, had anything but respect for this chamber. They report to this chamber, not to individual members. So to suggest that they are not in any way independent and they can't do the investigation, I think is shameful. I want to see the NDP say, we respect the independent officer, we respect the Integrity Commissioner, and we will allow him the time that he and his office need to do the investigation and issue the report. Thank you.